So I'm going to call to order our meeting, the advisory committee. First agenda item is our minutes. We have 3 meetings for which Tom provided the minutes, and we will vote on them now if we're able. So the first meeting we have is Wednesday, April 22. Hopefully everyone had a chance to review Wednesday, April 22 minutes, or those that were here. Looks like we had a full crowd. I looked through them. Everything looked reasonable to me, so I will open it up for questions or comments. Can anyone hear me on the Zoom?
Can't hear them.
Okay, I can't hear you, but it looks like you're saying yeah. In that case, questions, comments on April 22nd meeting minutes?
I don't see any hands raised.
All right.
Not me.
All right, so, AdCom. I move to accept the minutes from our Wednesday, April 22nd meeting as written.
Second.
Second. All those in favor,
Hey, Alvin, aye.
please let me see a hand. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9, right?
No, but not as,
Jack dropped off, but Brian came on.
I joined also via phone because I was having a problem connecting, but I'll disconnect from my mobile.
Brian's a
Jack
yes.
was there a second ago.
Dennis is a yes. Jack, can you hear me?
Yes, I just was able to get, I had a problem with the audio, so I had to reboot
We
everything.
can barely hear you, Jack.
Right here.
We can barely actually, we're not hearing everyone as well as we usually do. Okay. Jack, are you in favor of the minutes from April 24? I can see you
Yes.
now. You can raise your hand. Looks like you said. Yep, okay.
So it's 10-0-0? Okay.
It is 10-0-0 in favor.
And there were 10 people at that meeting, right?
1, 2, 3,
Yep.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
April 22. Okay. Sign that, but I'll get to it. Same deal for April 29 minutes. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This meeting, looks like we had 8. Sharon, looks like you were not here, and, well, anyone who wasn't here can either vote.
Sorry, I usually don't take attendance for those who aren't here.
Yeah, right, those 8. All right, questions, comments, April 29 minutes. All right.
No.
I move to accept Wednesday, April 29th minutes as written by Tom.
Second.
And
Those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9.
But we had 8 people then.
well, but everybody who was here voted, so put 8-0-0. We can figure out who was not here that night, but since everybody voted yes,
Well, I
covers
was
all
not
8.
here.
It covers all 8. Yeah, we didn't count you.
Oh,
I'm saying when you counted 9, if only 8 were here, all 8 people voted, so we're all set. 8-0-0.
0. Fair enough. Okay. And now we have the June 3rd, Wednesday, the June 3rd meeting.
The last meeting.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looks like we had all 10 members. Did I already say questions, comments? Questions, comments on June 3rd? Okay. I move to accept the meeting minutes from Wednesday, June 3rd as written by Tom.
Second.
All right, hands please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. Okay, everyone in favor, thank you.
Thank you for your confidence. And lack of red pens.
No, I looked at them, it's,
Okay.
everything made sense to me, so we're gonna sign these.
And you just upload or send them off to to Bob.
Yes, yep. Printed, Larry and I will sign, all right. Minutes in the books. Okay, thanks, everybody. Next item on the agenda, I believe, is town manager transfers. So it has reserve fund and town manager transfers, okay? So that's two separate items under one agenda item. As was explained to me from Bill Keegan and town manager, is that the reserve fund is the $75,000 fund that's built into the town budget yearly. And I think that's one of our standard accepted town policies, at least for the building that budget in. I think it's been 75,000 for as long as I've been here, and I think longer than that. And that's intended to be used for expenses that were unforeseen and, what's the word that we use? Not unexpected.
Unanticipated and unforeseen.
Unanticipated.
Yeah, unanticipated, all those
Unanticipated and
things.
unforeseen.
At any rate, we are the idea here, or what's happening is there's no charges against that budget this year. So that $75,000 is going to go back to our reserve funds, our free cash. So that's a good story. That's what's happening there. As far as the town manager transfers, that's a similar thing in a way, in that it's where we have budget line items where there were expenses that exceeded those budgetary line items. And the town is still obligated to cover those expenses. We need to find a way to pay for that. And the mechanism for that, when we're not using the reserve fund, is the town manager transfer. And what that entails is using funds from other line items in the budget that are underspent, or the actual expense is below or is planned to be below budget for 2020, and using that fund, those fund sources to cover the overages. So you received a memo. I received the memo from Bill. You received it from me a few days ago, Monday, I believe. Titled Memo for Town Manager TM Transfers, Town Manager Transfers. This again is for fiscal year 2020, the year that's ending next week or so from now. And what the memo documents is the sources and the uses of the town manager transfers. So the uses are the first thing you'll find if you scroll down to the top of, I think, page 2, you'll see the department transfers needed and the schedule that shows the total of $140,700. And it starts with finance administration of $25,000. Hopefully everyone sees that and has had a chance to take a look at that. Mm-hmm. Those are the uses of the town manager transfers. In other words, those are the places where we had money, expenditures to be higher than the budget line item. There's some commentary in the memo around the larger items and what's going on with those expenses versus budget. If you scroll down further to the bottom of page 3, I think, bottom of page 3, you see the sources of funds. And so that red line that goes horizontally across, you notice that ties exactly to the uses up top, $140,700. As it says, this is the source of funds. So of the $140,700, $100,000 of it is coming out of the police budget. So 2/3 of what we're looking at here is coming out of the police budget. The rest of the items are coming out of the line items of the budgets where they, or the departments where the overages originated. In other words, conservation needed $1,400 from one line and they're moving it to another. So hopefully everyone understands that and had a chance to take a look at that. So one of the things that we have Bill here. So Bill, as far as the source, the police budget source, it looks like there's $400,000 available, and that's to pay the last week of salaries and wages for the police. Do you think,
Correct.
how much of that is used for the last week, and what do you think the police overage will be like at year end, if you have a sense?
Well, so based on what the department head had indicated, the chief, and from what George and I talked about, we're still going to turn back a couple $100,000 and come out of budget, maybe even more.
Okay.
So irrespective of the money that we're transferring into a lot of the lines, we're still going to turn back a couple $100,000. So I think we're in good shape. Across the board, we actually are in very good shape. We're only transferring within the budget 0.2% of the entire budget, which is extraordinary. So anybody can tell me they could budget to a level of that degree of 99.8%.
Yeah.
Of a budget to be that accurate and 18 months prior to when it's actually spent.
Yep.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yep.
So,
All right,
so I
thanks,
think
Bill.
we're in pretty good shape.
And so one other question around the police, I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't have it off the top of your head, but the police budget in total, just to get a sense of like what 200 or so thousand turn back on what's the base of that budget? I don't have it in front of me.
About $4 million, as I understand, $4.2 million.
All right. So I just wanted to get a sense of the police budget, if they're turning back 200,000 on a base of 4 million, that's a pretty small number. We did add funds to the police budget for the 2021 budget cycle. So this is something to keep in mind next year when we're thinking about budgeting for 2022. They turn back 200,000. What does that trend look like? But
So can I just explain a little bit about that? So right now they're short. They've got 2 or 3 position vacancies that they're trying to fill. Problem is that they can't fill because of the training centers, so the academies were impacted by COVID-19. So they're actually running with about I think four vacancies right now in the department. That's the reason why he was able to turn back some additional funds.
got it.
So it wouldn't normally be like that, but the good news is that he was able to continue to run. And also, COVID-19 was a strange phenomenon in many ways because actually everybody was coming to work every day, so we didn't have a lot of sick leave. Well, with vacations and people staying out, everybody worked their shifts, and as a result, we didn't have a lot of overtime expense either. So it actually worked out all the way around for everybody. Same thing was true in fire as well. So so most of the operations, people were still coming to work and not taking a lot of time off during this period of time. So I mean, we are incurring a little bit of a challenge with vacation carryovers this year because a lot of people weren't able to use their vacations this year for obvious reasons.
Yep.
But we're trying to encourage people to take it as much as they can during the summer, to try and run those numbers down.
Fair enough. The audio is a little challenging. Did everyone get the crux of that in terms of COVID-19's impact? Okay, great. Tom?
Just one question about the line item for the Council on Aging. That their excess on the expense accounts of almost $48,000. The $4,000 is coming out. That doesn't touch their revolving accounts, right? That's separate. That's a separate budget item.
That's strictly budgeted amounts, Tom.
Okay.
Strictly budgeted amounts.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Dan?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. Maybe it's an obvious one. I don't know. Why is everything all zeros after? If we're making transfers, is like, so obviously, you're moving money around up top there. you know, to fill needs, but, you know, I'm imagining that in finance and administration, the transfer need is not exactly $25,000, right? I guess I'm just wondering, I don't know how the process works, so I was just wondering if you could shine some light on that.
Yeah, so don't forget, we still have a couple weeks left in the year. So we still, in fact, our last payroll actually comes out of, our last warrant goes on July 14th. So that's purely an estimate at this point in time. So we estimate, obviously we want to be over instead of under. So we estimate a little bit higher than that.
So say it comes in at $24,995. Does that $5 go to free cash? I'm just wondering.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yes, it does. Anything we don't spend, Dan, goes right back into free cash.
All right. Cool. Thanks.
They round up.
Yep.
Good answer. Good question though, Dan. I didn't think of that. All right. Bill or Bernard, we need just a simple majority for this one, right? Is that what I understand? Okay. Okay.
Yep.
So we just need a simple majority for this. I think this
Just so
is-
the committee's aware, Mr. Chairman, that the selectmen voted this 5-0 in favor last night.
Yeah.
Just so everybody's
Selectmen
aware.
5-0? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think this is a decent story. We're not using it. We're turning back the 75,000. I know that we've used that in the past, as I recall.
Yeah,
We're
we're not
moving
mar-
some dollars around from, in the grand scheme of things, there's not a lot of money shifting. I'm pretty comfortable with this.
Yeah, this has happened in the past where portions have been moved over interdepartmentally as well as reserve funds being used. This case, there's so much extra this year because of the circumstances, it just rendered the reserve account not unnecessary, that's all. But
Any final thoughts or questions on the town manager transfers?
Dennis?
Dennis?
Listen, he's thinking. I'm scratching his face.
Oh. I thought he was trying to make a point there. Hand up.
All right. In that case, I move to accept the town manager transfers from this, as listed, the sources and the uses, the amount of $140,700.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise them. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 in favor, 0 opposed, Tom. Okay.
Thanks, everyone. And I don't know if this is the last night for all of you to be together, but we just want to say thank you to all for all your hard work this year. And it was, all things considered, it was a relatively smooth town meeting, and we got a lot of stuff done this year in relatively good time. And appreciate everybody's support in making this process as smooth as it possibly could be. So it was a good process. I think we worked really well together as a group, and all the boards together as working as a team. I thought it was really a good process. So thank you very much for your help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your partnership, and I think everyone was able to maintain their independence and do what they needed to do, and still kept it on a level that was workable and worked well for people, so.
I have one question
Bill.
related to the warrant for this last town meeting, and Bill might be able to address this.
Jack, if you could just speak up a little bit. Sorry, the audio is tough.
It's on our end, not yours.
Huh? Well, I will try here anyway.
I can hear you fine, Jack. I can hear you fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had 8 substantive articles that required some type of action. 4 of the 8 had some kind of significant flaw in them. Now, how do we improve the process so that we drive the error rate closer to 0? Because a warrant article is an important legal document. We really can't afford to have errors in them. You get away with it sometimes. Sooner or later, it'll bite us.
Okay, well, one of the things that we talked about last night, Jack, is to actually have one of the things that's missing from the town that I noticed is that we don't have a process, a clearly defined process that's been in place. I mean, it was a historical process, but as I looked around me the other day, I realized that most of those people are gone. So I think what we needed this year was a better review process. Well, I didn't agree with everything that the moderator said the other night. I did agree with the one thing he did say that was pretty universally agreed to, and that was having a better review process so that would eliminate any kind of things like that. So I think part of it was a little bit disjointed this year because it was the first time for George, first time for Marie, first time for the folks in my office to run that through the process.
No, just.
And so there was a few disconnections along the way.
Well, there was an extraordinary numbers of changes. I mean, just the virus effect and all
Exactly.
the remote discussions. But it almost seemed like somehow we need a better review process. It's really, and I think you've already mentioned that.
And I agree with that.
Hey, Jack, if I may, I saw.
You're gonna have to, it's like you're on the phone to the radio station.
Jack, I saw the selectmen meeting last night. They have a plan in place to meet this summer, I think early summer, to discuss the article, the warrant, and the first trial run is for the meeting we're going to have in November this year. So the Board of Selectmen and Bill Keegan and Frank did discuss about it last night, and they're going to try it for the special town meeting. So next spring everything should be smooth. Am I?
Yes.
That's about it.
That's a fair analysis.
I just want to make sure that everyone picked up on Jack's initial comment and then Bill's follow-up.
Could you just read, because I was trying to get the audio.
Okay.
We're getting a lot of audio echoing. Yeah.
Hit mute again.
I'm not, it's on mute.
There's still an echo.
It's not me. Oh,
Okay. Brian, I think what you were looking for is sort of a recap, and so if I,
They have a plan.
yeah, okay.
Send it away.
So, yeah?
Or recap? Yeah, you can say.
Okay. So, I know, Jack's point or question or initiative maybe, is that when we went to town meeting, there was some issues with the articles or overall with the warrant in terms of streets being called avenues or whatever, or just either grammatical or issues that were relatively minor but still mistakes in terms of addresses and those types of things. And so I don't know that there was any major issues with that, but there is the issue of just having a process that, the integrity of the warrant and the articles and everything's a strong legal standard. So he was just calling out that fact that there was issues that should not have been gotten all the way to town meeting.
Oh, no, he said, he brought a couple of those items up in our meetings.
And he brought them up in meetings, and we voted on them, and I think we voted on them with the understanding that they would be fixed.
Right.
So that's a point that I wanted to get back to. Bill, in essence, agreed that there was issues with the warrant, and said, basically indicated that a review process, a stronger review process is necessary. There was issues this year. This was obviously unprecedented with COVID. There was a lot of change within town management. So there was a lot going on. So Larry, in terms of the process for review, do you have a sense of what that would be about? Or, because you mentioned like for next year, what are your?
Well, actually, last night, the discussion between the moderator, selectman, and Keegan was they're going to fix this so this won't happen again. And the selectman agreed they're going to be meeting with the next month or so to come up with a plan, a review process, a checklist, so that this doesn't, it doesn't fall through the cracks the next time. And the first test to make sure that everything is working is the November meeting, because
November, okay,
this
special
coming,
town meeting,
right,
yep.
special town meeting. So that would be call it a dry run. So if everything checks and there's no technical errors, then they know they have a good process in place, and then come next May, it should be a better. We won't be discussing about, they won't be arguing about the warrants. Yeah.
Have the issue that unfortunately
right.
occurred
Okay.
at this past
So, Jack, Jack, why don't you go ahead and make sure that, if we just want to make sure we can hear you. Go ahead, give it a try.
Go ahead, Jack.
It says your microphone is on. Sharon.
I turned it off.
But it's still echoing.
It still says you're talking. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's still on, Jack. Somehow.
Somehow.
I left.
All right, Jack, you want to, Chief, if you, welcome to comment. I think you should come up to the microphone if you're gonna have comments.
He's asking you to
You're
come to
welcome
the
to
front,
just come up and stay if you like, if it's,
Hey, when Sharon turned off her microphone, that fixed it.
Yes, it's working much better now.
We hear better now.
all right, Jack. Can you go ahead, please?
Huh?
Did you have a comment? I thought your hand was raised.
No, I had a comment that, that the audio was so bad that it was impossible to understand.
Oh, okay, all right. Fair enough.
We got it.
Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
You got it, it's working now.
Okay. So the one thing I wanted to add, as far as the advisory committee, in the process of the integrity of all the articles in the warrant, I will acknowledge that as advisory committee chairperson, I tended to focus on substance over form when it came to articles, and when we came across a street that was called a avenue or a road, I expected that would be fixed in time for town meeting or ahead of town meeting. Wasn't always the case this time around. So one thing going forward that I think is within the scope of responsibility for the advisory committee is when we review articles, including the budget or any of the articles that we review ahead of a town meeting, special or regular, is our power is the vote, is our vote. So if there's anything that we think is either egregious or is really impactful, if it doesn't get changed, it's going to have an impact to how things play out with town meeting. We have the power to vote against something and say, let's get this right. Not advocating it for simple things that probably are not meaningful. But that said, I don't know what that threshold is. So going forward, that's one of the things we could, the advisory committee can consider. It's the vote.
I believe at town meeting, you still have the option to vote for amendments to the motions that are presented. So if somebody recognizes there's the wrong wording or street versus road, somebody could have proposed an amendment to the motion that was on the floor to have a correction made there and then vote on that correction.
Right.
But that was just blown past.
If I can just add to that, I think Tom's point is well made, that if you have if you check the motions, I believe the motions did correct some of those what we call Scribner's errors, where if it was printed wrong, or if we missed a word here or there, those things were corrected in the motions. So that's why the motions typically don't come up until the very last minute. We don't finalize those to make sure that we've covered all those little changes that are here and there. Sometimes we have to be careful that the motion doesn't go beyond the scope of the article, and that's really the key. But the ones that I saw did not do that in any of the cases that were presented. So, and I do believe Frank felt the same way. So I don't think there was any disagreement over those points.
Yeah.
Well, two other items there. Just is, I think Frank is choosing to use the town meeting rules as opposed to Robert's Rules of Order. And then secondarily, we've had corrections updated to fix things later on because of, and we vote on that as a separate warrant article to make corrections. And that's usually something also they ask, can we avoid the reading and just make those punctuation corrections or spelling errors and that kind of stuff. But it comes up every couple of years that when people have gone through and looking through our documents.
You know, quite honestly, as much as I've done this a long time, and I don't even want to talk about the number of years I've done it, but I will tell you that it's rare that you see a perfect warrant because there are just so many different moving parts to it that it's unfortunate, but it's rare that you see anything that comes through that's totally perfect. As much as we want to try and get there, I think it's just it's sometimes beyond everybody's reach to get there because based upon so many moving parts. But I think that the next process that we come up with will help a lot of that. And I think that, you know, having sort of like an editorial board almost that will look through it and just read it, you know, line by line to make sure that it's accurate and that the intention is accurate, especially with the individual that proposed the article, so that we don't run into an issue with that, and make sure that the language lines up with the motion, so there's no questions about any of that. So it's just, I think a process was missing from this. It was more of a historical process than actually a documented process. And I think we need to do that to make it better going forward, particularly for those people that may change jobs. I mean, we had nearly three-quarters of our staff was changed over the course of the past year. So that meant, you know, for various reasons, of course, but what happened was that sort of took away the history of how the process was done, and it made life a little bit more complicated for us to try and get it done as smoothly as we could have. Yeah. So I mean, we take full responsibility for anything that happens, but just to let you know, some things difficult to resolve, given the circumstances.
Yep. So I think the process that we've discussed tonight should be helpful. I think we'd all agree that we'd like to have all issues resolved ahead of going to town meeting and doing adjustments and changes on the floor of town meeting. And so that's, I'm sure, all of our goal. So let's move forward with that understanding that we're looking to make that a better, smoother process for town meeting. There? Okay.
Mr. Bernard, I think there's a question.
Please.
Yeah, Seth, if I may say, though, maybe just 4 points for us to note. Number one, talking about the improvement of the process, I just would like to acknowledge that, again, either directly or behind the scene, the work involved between you and Larry having to coordinate so much kudos, because it's really, especially in this year with COVID-19 and so on, but the work to coordinate so much between meeting on time, scheduling, and having all of us in sync is by no means no task. So at least I would like to acknowledge on our behalf, kudos to you and Larry in putting so well together, and especially the communication process among the different bodies. That's number one. Number two, at least for me.
Oh, we just froze you.
Everything that's happening this year, let's call it on what I think even some people are telling me, let's put it there.
Hey, Bernard, we're losing you on the audio.
Oh? Hello?
Yeah.
Bernard, we heard everything. We heard point one completely, which is much appreciated. Team effort, of course. Every part of point one was we heard. As soon as you started point two, that's when the audio went out in the room. Okay.
Right. Point two, maybe more for lesson learned, is anything having to do with the fact that there were some voters that expressed, let's say, their concern in terms of the top line, in terms of what may come, let's call it as a shortfall this year. Perhaps all of us, the key thing is to really monitor who knows who's going to be right? But I think that for the most part, everyone who participated at town hall did notice basically how diligent we were in the process. But it still dawned on me that some people did express some concern of what may become some kind of shortfall. So perhaps the other takeaway is that no one can predict the future, but for all of us to really make note of those concerns and see how things go and evolve. But I think we've all done the process in a very mature way and responsible for the town. The number 3 point is the fact that I have.
As soon as it gets to a new point, it knows that.
Even some.
Bernard, hold on 1 second. We heard every bit of point 2, at least I did. As soon as you started point 3, cut out again.
Oh, sorry. My internet is unstable. Can you hear me?
We missed.
Hear you now.
We missed virtually all of point 3.
Hey Bernard, turn off your video for a minute, see if that improves it.
You want to try again on point 3, Bernard?
Oh, were you okay on point 2?
You point 2, I think I got all of that.
Right. Point 3, again, it's somewhat of an essence of benchmarking.
Yep.
As compared to other towns, and I think we've already in the papers what has been happening, even in towns that are very well funded and what they are going through. I would like to say that for us, we've done fairly well compared to what's confronted in front of us. All that is to say is sometimes when I do hear, let's call it, people having some doubts or concerns, the work we all do as professionals, especially as volunteers, should be very well commended. So at that point.
Thank you, Bernard. Appreciate your insights. And I would, to your third point, I think I would say that one thing I've noticed, or I could acknowledge, as a result of this, the pandemic, is that wealthy citizens and financial stability don't always go hand in hand. You would assume a town that has lots of wealth is presumably financially perfectly stable and can weather any storm, but it doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, it can help to have, wealthy citizens with a cushion, but it's not always the answer. I think, responsible fiscal management and policy is at least as important. I just thought I'd point that out, that I think we are in relatively good shape, thanks to a lot of people, Bill included, and others. So there's that. Any other comments, sir? All right. So if we move on, so the last item on the agenda is discussion for 2021 season leadership positions, or what I've been calling leadership positions, but it's the chair and the vice chair. Those are the two positions that we've traditionally had. At one point there was sort of a secretary type, but I'm not aware of that more recently. So at this point, I know I mentioned a couple weeks ago for folks to think about that, and I think everyone's had a chance. So I'm not sure exactly how we'll do the voting yet, but I think if we do the nominations to start, I mentioned nominations, and so I will just kick that off. So right from the very beginning of fiscal year 2020 advisory committee season, I've had Larry Uwe as the vice chair, and he's been involved in all of the leadership and tactical and operational aspects and everything involved with the advisory committee, meeting with department heads, talking about strategy and that type of thing. And so we both leaned on Bernard quite a bit. But I think at this point, Larry is a great candidate to sort of be the chairperson and the leader of the advisory committee for 2021. So I'm officially nominating Larry for chairperson for 2021 season. So there's that, and then other nominations are welcome to Sharon.
For vice chair, I would like to nominate Bernard. Come on.
Okay.
For chairperson, I'd like to nominate Tom. Just Tom Lott, he's been around for a while.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Any other? Nope. Okay, so what makes the most sense in terms of, do you think it makes sense to do vice chair first, since that's basically unopposed? I'm gonna make that decision myself. So I move to accept, so let's see, Sharon?
Jack has a question.
Jack, go ahead.
Yeah, you should vote on the chair first, because whoever is not elected chair might be a candidate for vice chair. So the two positions should be voted on sequentially.
Vote for chair first?
Yes, and rather than simply because there's only one nomination for vice chair, whoever is not nominated, whoever does not win the election for chair might then be a candidate as vice chair. So I don't think you can assume.
They'd have to be nominated, but I guess technically that's true, right?
Hey, Seth?
Yep, Brian.
Hey, Seth? I assume this is the case, but the folks that have been nominated, are they all willing to fulfill that role?
Yes, I'm confident of that.
Yes.
Yep.
Bernard is not making eye contact with the camera. I just want to point that out.
Oh, cutting out here. Oh, what's happening?
Paul, that's a good one. What happened is that at home I have the luxury of having 3 screens. So I'm looking into the larger screen. That's why my eyes are pointed to the larger
How the
screen.
phone works.
Just wanted to check.
I have 3 screens.
All right. So that's good feedback, Jack. So we'll do chair first. I think the only equitable way to do this is to do one at a time, rather than put a name out and have people vote. So, Dan, you look puzzled. Is that not what you think is right?
No, I don't know what you mean.
I mean, Dan, how do you vote?
roll call.
Tom, how do you vote?
all right, okay. All right.
Roll call vote as opposed
Roll
to,
call. Roll call, yes.
since there's no secret ballot.
So that takes care of that piece of it, but then the order, does anyone have, if we just go left to right, starting in the top corner and around? I don't want to have any, all right.
Sure.
Does anyone have a problem? So I could start, if that's, I just want to make sure, I'm not, is that?
This isn't Survivor, okay?
What did you say?
It's not Survivor.
Oh, okay, all right. So so I'm gonna count, you want me to count votes, or?
You should count.
Well, you're not running, so
You're
yeah,
not
you
running, you
probably-
should count.
All right, so let's see. So I vote for Larry, so that's one for Larry. I'm going to Paul.
Larry.
Okay. Dennis?
Larry.
Bernard?
Larry.
Jack?
Larry?
All right, so that's fine. Brian?
Yep, Larry, he had approached me about this a while back.
Larry?
What?
What?
Did he s-
Larry, okay.
Oh,
Dan?
Tom.
Okay.
hello?
Sharon?
Larry.
I can vote for myself, right?
Of course you can. All right, so that vote is 8-2 in favor of Larry. Congratulations, Larry.
Thank you.
All right, chairperson. So for chair, we've had one nomination.
Vice chair.
Vice chair, sorry, that's exactly right. Vice chair, we've had one nomination. So if we're staying at that, I vote
Well,
for.
hang on,
themselves.
Seth.
What's that?
Can somebody nominate themselves?
Of course.
I'll throw my hat.
Can you,
All
can,
right,
Years ago, too.
can you
Right.
guys even hear me?
Go ahead.
Paul's up there.
Paulson.
Paul's,
No, I want to either nominate or second Tom's nomination.
oh, okay. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
all right. All right. All right, so I will start the voting. I vote for Bernard. Paul,
Tom,
let me make sure I do this right. Okay. Dennis,
Bernard.
Bernard, vote for yourself.
Bernard,
Okay.
More.
Jack,
Bernard,
Brian,
Bernard.
Dan,
Tom.
Tom, Sharon, Bernard.
Bernard.
All right, so that is 7-3 in favor of Bernard. Congrats, Bernard. Any other, congratulations, guys. Any other items? This is our last meeting for this session. Anything else before we break? We break for 2020.
Seth, can we talk about consensus on if people are coming back, or is that something that's handled next year?
So Brian, you asked about basically the makeup of the advisory committee for the 2021 session?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. So that's really at Frank's discretion. In terms of new members, there's a couple of folks whose terms are up. There's hopefully some people who are interested in coming and helping out. So we'll see how that plays out. I don't have much more than that, Brian, but I've asked the question, but I don't get a lot of feedback there either.
Frank doesn't give a lot of feedback.
Yeah, right?
Brian, usually Frank will notify the chair and the vice chair sometime in August, maybe sometimes early September. So we won't really know until Frank decides, and sometime at the earliest is August. So.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, just it occurs to me we could probably use a few more folks, right?
yes.
Yeah, I think I think 15 is the maximum.
Maximum.
Right.
And what did we operate with?
Try to keep it at least 8, so you have more than what would be
Yeah,
more than 50% of what the,
yeah, and we
Maximum
operated with
is-
what, 7 in the,
we started this year with 7, that's why I got called back.
Yeah.
And then they brought Jack and,
yep, and the rest of the crew.
and we'd have 11 right now if Steph is still here.
Good point,
So,
good point.
so everybody start talking to your folks that are passionate about Foxborough, right?
Yeah. And you have to admit, like, if you look at the other boards and committees, a lot of those folks are on the school committee or the Board of Selectmen, they all came through the advisory committee, so it's a good way to learn about the town and the budget and who's doing what and what's going on, so,
DeBellis, White House, Brew,
yep.
they were all here
Half the
before.
school committee, if not more. Right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, that was our last agenda item. For my part, like, it was a real pleasure working with this team. This was the best group of folks that I've had the pleasure of working with at this, through my 4 years of doing this, so thank you all for your engagement and.
Yeah, I got you a gift here.
Oh,
Thank you for your service.
thank you very much. unnecessary, but very appreciated. Yeah, you guys were awesome. I'd do it again anytime, so thanks very much, and
Thank you.
enjoy your summer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Seth. Thanks, everyone.
Enjoy your summer, everyone. Thank you.
All right, good night, folks.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.